In a mysterious world of magic and secrets, ordinary students find themselves on an unpredictable adventure. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to suddenly be teleported into a different world with extraordinary powers? Join Akira and his friends as they face danger, challenges, and mysterious curses. Get ready for an exciting story where bravery is tested, friendships are betrayed, and quest for the truth never ends. On an ordinary day, Akira and other second-year high school students out of the blue get teleported to some palace in another world. A strange voice welcomes them to their great astonishment, and it is revealed that they have been summoned to quite a distant world. Just where do these supernatural things actually happen? The voice belongs to the king, who along with his daughter stands majestically in front of the students. The princess seems a little hesitant, however the king reminds her that everything is done for a greater cause. The students have been brought here so that one could be singled out as the hero in the hope of defeating the demon king. The king requires their dire assistance in that life-threatening job and the students gasp in shock. The world is known as Morrigan and has 4 main continents in total. Each continent was inhabited excessively by humans, elves, beastmen, and demons. The country Redis has the largest human population and they are currently under a threat of demon invasion. The students are chosen to be candidates for the hero title to maintain peace in the country. The king desperately hopes that they can slay the demons. An old mage mentions that first of all only one of them is destined to become a hero, but the others will be given a special power of their own. So all of them play a very important role in the battle against those demons. The students are told to open their statuses. Akira follows the instructions and is struck by lightning when he spots that his occupation is designated to be an assassin. However, his stealth ability, or ability to move quietly and unnoticed, is max level. He has 1800 HP and 1200 attack power. Now Akira is unable to compare these numbers with others because everyone can see their own status bar. Suddenly a guy approaches Akira and inquires about his status bar. Uncannily, Akira cannot remember his name. In fact, he is unable to remember the names of nearly half of his classmates. Is it amnesia? The guy mentions that his occupation is wind mage and is quite impressed when he learns that Akira is an assassin because looking at Akira's disappearing acts during classes he could have been easily termed a ninja. Akira always won the hide and seek game during his childhood days, so hiding can easily count as one of his natural abilities. Akira notices that the status bar in this world is also based on their experience and characteristics back in Japan. Akira learned arithmetic and negotiation skills through bargaining for groceries in a local market. Still, the million-dollar question remains, who is crowned to be the hero? A hazy image of Sato Tsukasa appears in Akira's mind, who is not only good-looking but holds an exceptional record even in sports. To add the cherry on top, Tsukasa is also the head of the student council. However, Akira has always caught him acting friendly around his harem. Next, all students are requested to gather around a crystal ball. They all form a queue and touch the crystal ball one by one. The crystal ball is a magic tool that scans the status bar and displays it. The students are all hesitant to approach the crystal ball. However, a young girl is told by the old mage to go first. So up till now, those statuses that were kept private from each other will be displayed in public, and that can be quite risky. So when the young girl places her hand on the crystal ball, Akira is quite surprised that her stats are much lower than his. Akira begins to fret as he feels that his exorbitantly high stats shouldn't be known by others at any cost. So for this reason, he activates his stealth skill, and the boy who approached him earlier is quite startled because of Akira's sudden disappearance. Akira is relieved that now he would have time to react if something unusual came up. Next, it is Tsukasa's turn, and Akira resolves that if Tsukasa's index is stronger than his, then it would be safe to show his status as well. Predictably, Tsukasa's occupation is level 1, but again his stats are astoundingly 6 to 7 times lower than his own. Akira is flabbergasted because his assassin title is very much stronger. Still, he doesn't understand why he is more powerful than the hero himself. Maybe this hero is just for decoration and the assassin has to do all the dirty work. Meanwhile, Tsukasa is congratulated by the old mage, but Akira ponders that normally in this world, a person's attack power mostly reaches 100. Even for skilled warriors, the max power ever recorded is only 500. The king and the mage are satisfied that now the hero and his friends are all on their side, so they can easily defeat the demon king without any issues. Akira doesn't have a good feeling about the king and the princess. In fact, the whole situation seems fishy to him. For the next part, the students are promised to be provided with the most suitable pieces of equipment. The students are led in a particular direction when Akira spots some surveillance cameras on the roof, and he has a nasty feeling that something terrible is about to happen. After a while, Akira is seen lying flat on the bed, his mind boggling very rapidly. He wonders what the assassin class is about, as he was supposed to be one of the hero's sidekicks. He concludes that it must be because of his negotiation skills that he could somewhat understand what the person is planning. He is glad that he didn't come near the crystal ball and managed to hide his stats as well as himself, but still, to him the whole idea is pretty boring. Ever since that time, he split up from the group and waited silently for his turn. He is relieved that he is given a room of his own, so now it has become easier for him to sneak out. Still, he is surprised that no security camera has been installed in that room, and looking at the dirt accumulated in the corners, it appears that up till now no one has come to clean it up either. The castle could be short on staff. However, Akira is thoroughly relieved. Akira is holding suspicions against the king, and since an assassin's job is to infiltrate, Akira vows to find what the king is hiding. First of all, he changes his attire into something more assassin-like, along with some weapons that he found in the enormous palace's armory. Next, he flings from roof to roof like a caped crusader and manages to barge inside the palace through a window. He roams around endless corridors and passages to search for the king. Suddenly, he hears the king's voice coming from a room. Akira stands still outside the room and eavesdrops on the conversation between the king and his daughter Maria. Both are discussing the second-year students and are relieved that they haven't noticed anything, the reason being that they have come from a world without demons. Maria informs the king that the students are asleep and have no idea what they are being used for. The king decides to proceed with their original plan. However, he warns Maria that the students must not enter the gallery, while he will send the Knights captain to train them the next day. As soon as Maria takes her leave and comes out of the door, a vigilant Akira slides behind a thick pillar. When she is out of sight, Akira enters the room, which is a humongous library with thousands of books neatly lined together on their respective bookshelves. Akira carefully treads softly and hides behind a bookshelf, from where he can easily see the king having his back towards him, perched on a chair writing a letter. Akira has a strong urge to stab the unguarded king from behind, but he stops midway since he still hasn't figured out what the king's plan is. Akira has a lot of questions in his mind, like why they were summoned into this world and what danger awaited them. Akira is double-minded, holding a dagger, but then he silently returns to his room, not knowing that in the future, not killing the king at that point would become one of his greatest regrets. Elsewhere, a young lady is frantically running through the woods when suddenly a dart hits her leg and she falls face down on the ground. The young lady realizes dizzily that she has been hit by a tranquilizing poison. The young lady is completely shocked to see that the dart was shot by none other than Maria, who treacherously wonders why that young lady is still alive. The next morning, the students are having breakfast at the palace's enormous and lavish dining hall. They chatter away in whispers when Tsukasa rises and calls for their attention. Tsukasa expresses his desire for everyone to be on the same page despite passing through the shocking phenomenon of summoning to another world the previous day. Tsukasa vows to use his immense and unquestionable strength to help other people in the world. The guy has great potential in politics, though. Akira peers closely at Tsukasa when he resolves to fulfill the king's wish to defeat the demon lord. All the others except Akira cheer for him wildly and assure him of their full cooperation. Meanwhile, Akira feels sorry for their ignorance, as those hapless chaps feel that the king and the princess are their allies whom they can trust blindly. He wonders what would they do if they learned that the demon lord's invasion into human territory was just a big fat lie. Meanwhile, the innocent kids are all hyped up to join Tsukasa, but no one notices Akira having his meal calmly, all thanks to his activated stealth skills. Akira is getting fed up with that illusory atmosphere and wonders whether he can try escaping the castle all by himself. Next, the kids are led to a vast training area that seems wider than their schoolyard. They all are welcomed by Redis Knight Commander Saren Misray, who boasts to be Redis's last line of defense. It seems as if he forcibly introduced himself so pompously on Vice Commander Zealist's orders because the latter doesn't want to reveal the real Saren Misray. A sharp Akira judges Saren to be a frivolous guy with a very non-serious attitude. However, the girls are going bonkers over his suave good looks. A bombshell is dropped on the kids that they will go to a certain underground dungeon a month from now, and for this reason, they will be trained every single day until that day, as per the king's orders. The puzzled students wonder whether they will get stronger in 30 days. However, they are forced to believe that if they don't get proficient enough in a month, then the problem actually lies in their incompetence. To Tsukasa's vexation, Saren changes the trajectory by boasting that they are the knights who take pride in being this kingdom's last line of defense, so he believes completely in these exceptional and gifted debutantes. Everyone is a trained politician here. Tsukasa is about to explode in rage while Akira is perplexed by Seren's cheap provocation. Unexpected, Seren's eyes meet with Akira's, and the latter composes himself and smiles like a doofus in front of him. But suddenly he remembers that he has his stealth skills active, so he doesn't have to worry about that self-imagined eye contact. A relieved Akira takes his departure as he doesn't have to obey the king's orders after all, quite unaware that Seren's gaze is trailing him from behind. After a pause, Seren leaves the whole training process to Zeal and orders him to give the students half of their usual training. Meanwhile, Akira is loitering around the palace courtyard when Seren catches him off guard. Now Akira is quite surprised that Seren can actually visualize him despite his hiding skills. This is because Seren has an extra skill called Evil Eye. Akira shows him a devil-may-care attitude that shows his defiance against training even if he is boiled or grilled. However, an amused Seren is more in favor of peaceful talks. He assures Akira that he won't force him to train, but Akira has to be honest with him about his intentions. Akira gives up and informs him that he is heading towards the library to find out more about this world, like magic, skills, lifestyle, etc. Seren reminds him that the king has prohibited them from loitering around that area. On Seren's curiosity, Akira informs him that his stealth skills have been activated to the maximum level. However, his other skills are still on the initial level, and he is uncertain about how to raise their level. Seren offers his help to Akira as he won't do anything useful in the library. They don't have that many books stored in the library, as the king makes sure that all the useful stuff and books about skills must be stored in his study. When Akira emits a knowing sigh, Seren guesses that he has already been there in the king's study. Now, since there is nothing more expensive than free stuff, Seren wants Akira to teach him about his original world. Soon a deal is hatched between the two kindred souls. Suddenly Zeal spots the lazy-boned Seren engrossed in idle chattering with some stranger. He yells at him for running away from an important responsibility, and drags him away, apologizing to Akira about the whole chaos. Akira expresses his desire to visit the Knight's Bay Rook sometime to visit Seren. Zeal readily affirms and sets the visiting hours to the current hours of the day. On finding solace, Zeal notices that rare joyful look on Seren's face. Seren also realizes that after a long time, a genuine smile appeared on his face. He narrates the whole conversation that took place between Akira and him. Zeal also learns about exotic, unbelievable inventions from Akira's world, like news traveling around the world in an instant, and also a small plate that enables someone to communicate with faraway people in real time. The most exquisite thing is that in that world everything works with science instead of magic. When Zeal learns that Akira is from a place called Japan, he recalls that it is in the documents that the first hero summoning was also from that place. Seren makes a shocking revelation that Akira is still hiding his true powers, and he might be even stronger than the new hero. Zeal is bewildered when he comes to know about Akira's max level stealth skills, as only the firstly summoned hero enjoyed that kind of power. In this world, the max skill level is 9, however, it's extremely rare for anyone to cross level 7. Specifically, the people summoned from another world can easily break off that thick barrier. Seren guesses that Akira might have slipped off the king's attention by using stealth skills during the crystal ball ceremony, and that makes him pretty clever and crafty about how to utilize his skills. Zeal wonders whether Seren is planning to bring Akira under his camp. Seren calculates that if by chance he realized the king's true nature, then perhaps it might be safe to convey their thoughts to him. Seren decides to personally train Akira from the next day onward, and that won't be some half-baked training for surviving in the dungeon, but proper training fit for an assassin's job. Meanwhile, the students are training vigorously, including Tsukasa. Tsukasa throws a menacing glare at Akira, recalling their past. Tsukasa has known Akira since kindergarten, and somehow they were always in the same class, from elementary to high school. Despite that, when he tried talking to Akira in the first year of middle school, he couldn't remember Tsukasa, although their seats were next to each other several times. Tsukasa has always been a popular person, a high achiever, and good-looking, but still, those qualities failed to grab any attention from a very detached Akira. Tsukasa had noticed for a long time Akira sometimes drifted away by himself and disappeared before anyone could realize it. To his chagrin, Akira has been playing those disappearing tricks here in Morrigan as well. Earlier, he was gone before Tsukasa tried to raise everyone's spirits to fight the Demon Lord. Not only that, but he also slipped out secretly during the training session, and Akira has perfect stealth skills. In the end, he concludes that Akira is one selfish jerk with no cooperative spirit at all and has the tendency to break a team's unity. What bothers Tsukasa is that despite Akira's egocentric attitude, he always manages to be the center of attention. He observes how Saren personally comes to check on Akira about his progress. Not only that, Tsukasa also learns in agitation that Akira's training menu is way harsher than theirs, that even Vice Commander Zeal couldn't finish. Tsukasa burns with anger and jealousy on seeing the enviable affinity between Akira and the Knight Commander. He wonders why Saren doesn't pay the same kind of attention to him, the actual hero. His thoughts are softly interrupted by Princess Maria, who has graciously brought him a glass of water after that rigorous training. Tsukasa begins to calm down as cold water soothes his nerves. He realizes that it is such an honor to be taken care of by the princess herself, as after all he is the hero. He vows to prove it to the Knight Commander and Akira by becoming stronger. After a month, the group of heroes led by Saren is brought in front of the general public. Saren orders them to puff their chest and stand proudly in front of their people. The crowd cheers merrily as the group parades in between them. Tsukasa becomes an instant hit among the masses, while Akira remains hidden. However, he notices a strange hooded girl who is eerily frowning at the group of heroes. The girl shocks Akira by revealing that so much has been sacrificed just to summon those so-called heroes. The strange girl challenges Akira to look for the actual reason for her allegation till they meet again. A map is spread on the table and Saren mentions to all that they would be heading towards the Continen dungeon. Each of the 4 continents has a dungeon of its own in Morrigan, and each one of them is named with its respective continent name where it is situated. For example, Continen Dungeon is located in the Continen continent. The knights will also be chaperoning those heroes to check how those brave souls have progressed in the past month. However, the heroes disappoint them, as Saren expected, as instead of fighting in an organized manner, they all create a chaotic environment. What to expect from frail and decorative heroes. At first, they got through the first 30 levels quite smoothly. This is because their stats had strengthened since the time they got summoned here. The heroes loosen up a bit, realizing that this whole dungeon expedition is quite a piece of cake, and one of them accidentally pushes the trap brick, and to their great dismay, a sea of rats rapidly flows towards them, breaking havoc. Even the Knight Commanders become worried due to that sudden disaster, and they advise the heroes not to break the formation, and to stay as close to each other as possible. By looking at the lower morale of most of the heroes, Commander Saren, on Akira's suggestion, decides to retreat. Soon Saren creates a retreat path by chanting a magical spell and keeping his magical sword close to his eyes so that the heroes can retreat and run as fast as they can to the surface. In no time, the heavenly blade creates an opening and a set of gleaming stairs peek through it invitingly. Soon Tsukasa leads the heroes on the upper floor, horrified to find rat monsters prevailing there as well. He suddenly remembers the smoke bomb, previously provided to him by Maria, and uses one of them to repel the rodents. The bomb successfully repels the rats for the time being, and since Tsukasa has a limited number of bombs, he decides to make a run through it along with his friends. Soon Zeal uses powerful magical spells along with Blaze Shot and Wind Spell to ward off all the rodents in one go successfully. An awestruck Akira wonders whether the knights weren't enough to tackle one demon lord, and why the king needed to summon them. Saren chooses not to answer that question and urges Akira to retreat as well. Out of the blue, they hear deafening crashing and banging sounds coming from the upper floor. Akira and the Knight Commanders rush upstairs to witness a humongous and menacing minotaur ready to charge toward the heroes with his mighty bat. A frenzied Zeal wonders why would a monster that can only be found in the depth of a dungeon appear on the upper floor. When Akira spots the bull man aiming to strike Tsukasa and others, he immediately dashes towards it and dodges its attacks. He quickly stabs his sword into the Minotaur's chest, but to his dismay, the sword miserably breaks into pieces, and this makes Akira wonder about the sturdiness of the monster's body. Tsukasa is startled to find Akira valiantly protecting her. Earlier, Tsukasa was using the smoke bombs to ward off the rat monsters, and he thought they were pretty good because after using them they were not further attacked by the monsters. But after he used the last bomb, all of a sudden from behind the smoke curtain appeared a giant minotaur. Tsukasa tried to protect the heroes by parrying the minotaur's cudgel using his sword, but the poor guy broke the bones of both his hands instead because of that. Zeal announces that the knights will be fighting the Minotaur. Meanwhile, Akira and the heroes must heal and retreat. Tsukasa turns out to be braver than Akira expected, as he didn't pass out due to pain. Tsukasa had only one goal during this whole expedition, and that was to protect his classmates. But then who is going to take care of Tsukasa? Now a hero's job is not to protect others, so technically Tsukasa should concentrate on defeating the Demon Lord and not sacrificing himself like a scapegoat. The classmates whom he is so eager to protect already have battle-oriented jobs due to the rigorous training they have been receiving, so definitely they can protect themselves. Tsukasa gets emotional. Clearly, he has set high expectations for himself to be everyone's savior, and falsely connects his job as a hero with that. Even Akira gets worried seeing Tsukasa breaking down because even though Tsukasa is really suitable to become the student council president because of his natural leadership skills and his sense of responsibility, Akira has never seen him cornered this far. Soon Akira calls out for a healer and an exorcist among the heroes. Shiori the healer is told to mend his broken arms, while Yuki the exorcist is placed with the strangest request, which is to use the Dispel Curse spell on Tsukasa. Yuki obliges and a shocking revelation appears that Tsukasa has been cursed all the time. However, Yuki is unable to dispel the curse because her spell is failing. Yuki decides to try one more time while Shiori is still healing his badly broken arms. Meanwhile, the brave knights are still fighting off the Minotaur, however this time their attacks are not very effective against the treacherous monster. Akira has a sudden urge to help them out, however he doesn't feel like leaving Tsukasa's side. The other heroes assure him that they will take good care of Tsukasa while he can go and help out Saren. The heroes have thankfully realized their responsibility and do not want Tsukasa to carry out their burden forever. Saren is astonished to find Akira by his side, but both gallantly try to ward off the Minotaur. Since Akira's dagger is broken, the only way for him to break this deadlock is to use his skills. He then whispers something in Commander Saren's ear about his tactic. Now he doesn't care how Saren will react to his idea as he still wants to implement that anyhow. He decides to use that skill for himself this time so that he can return alive from this wretched dungeon. Saren intelligently deduces that it would become difficult for him to defeat this Minotaur even if he uses his full power, so he requests Akira to lend him his power. Akira agrees as he still has to gain more knowledge from Saren, while Saren needs to know more about smartphones and airplanes once they return. Next, Akira leaps and strikes the Minotaur with his might. Meanwhile, Zeal bellows at everyone to stay back as he can see that Akira is flanking the beast. Saren uses another spell to generate a massive and electrifying flash of lightning. The monster lets out an agonizing roar depicting that considerable damage has been done to it. Grabbing the opportunity, Akira uses shadow magic from behind the enemy by using the strong shadow that was generated by Saren's light magic. Zeal is awestruck by the perfect combination attack. However, Akira is having a hard time controlling the shadow skill, and he recalls once it almost ran wild when they trained. But still, he manages to swallow the whole gigantic beast in no time. Everyone is stunned as Akira displays his magnificent skills. Poor Akira is so exhausted that he just wants to head home. Soon they are safely out of the dungeon. However, they still have to go through that forest before they can get back to the castle. Akira notices that everyone seems worn out and silent, compared to being loud chatterboxes when they just got there. Seems like the students finally tasted the medicine of actual heroism. A slightly wounded Akira decides to check his current stats. His level has risen to 15. Also, his status is 3 times higher than when he came to this world. While his other skills have considerably increased as well, this is because Akira defeated a lot of monsters back in the dungeon. Further, 2 new skills, Roar and Intimidation, have been added to his status bar. He remembers Saren telling him before that there is a high chance of acquiring the enemy's skills that one experiences himself amid the battle. But Akira didn't know he would acquire those skills too fast. He suspects that the reckless hero Tsukasa, who actually protected everyone from the Minotaur, should also have gotten the skills. On reaching the castle, the students are dismissed after the roll call. However, Akira is commanded by Saren to stay. To his astoundment, Saren presents him with a weapon that the first hero personally made with his own hands, and it is called katana. Saren has an idea that since Akira and the first hero came from the same period, they both must be familiar with a katana. Akira feels that Tsukasa should be the one receiving this splendid weapon as he is a genuine hero. However, there are 2 reasons why Akira was chosen over Tsukasa. Tsukasa doesn't have the curved blade skills, and secondly, the hero always inherits the holy sword for generations. Akira is told to keep this whole weapon awarding ceremony a secret because the katana has been sneaked out from the castle treasury. Now Akira frantically wants to say something, but he is told to calm down since his previous dagger was also broken in the fight with the Minotaur, which was also a stolen one. Akira observes the black beauty as its grip and sheath are both black. He notices that the katana's tip is double-edged. Also, the blade is raven black. He finds out that the blade, which is called Kagarasu Zukuri, is so lethal that one cannot place a finger on its backside as well. The katana also has a name that is carved in the base of the blade. The language is incomprehensible to the knights though. Akira finds the name is Yado no Kami, meaning God of Night Blade. Akira zones out on learning the katana's name, as recalls his favorite kanji characters. Not only that, but a message believed to be from the first hero is also carved and addressed to his junior yet to come in the future, that the sword would protect him in all his perils and dangers. Akira chuckles and dreams about the first hero. Saren reminds Akira that earlier he wanted to point out something important about Tsukasa. Akira informs him that Tsukasa is suffering from a very strong curse, as they use the dispel spell on him several times, but all in vain. Saren gives a somber look as he knows who is behind all that. Meanwhile, Maria is practicing some dark magic, chanting that her hero should move, act, and speak just like a real hero must do. She is completely oblivious that she is being secretly observed by Akira from the window. He confronts her for such foul play. However, Maria, in turn, condemns him for breaking into a maiden's room in the middle of the night. However, Akira is not all intimidated by her allegations and draws out his katana in front of her. He at first thought that Maria was one normal princess that actually fell in love with the hero, yet this is one of the most common settings in a manga. However, Akira is not at all interested in all that crazy crap about maidens falling in love and chicks who dab curses. He immediately plucks out that forbidden, dark and conical crystal, on which Maria was performing dark magic earlier. On grabbing the crystal, Akira feels the intense chill being emitted from it. He is certain that by destroying the crystal, Tsukasa's curse will be removed. However, he still wonders why Maria is following the king's orders. Maria doing everything for the king's sake. Princess Maria was raised without even knowing what love is, because the king was too engrossed in his love for the queen, who unfortunately passed away after giving birth to Maria. After Akira has left, Maria immediately draws out a curtain, and behind that is a shelf full of those dark cursed crystals. She is so obsessed with her love for her father that she will not allow anyone to intrude in the king's way, or else they will taste divine punishment. Meanwhile, Saren is writing something when he senses Akira's presence from behind. Now Akira is surprised because he used stealth skills, but in reality, Saren has gotten used to Akira's existence. When Saren checks out that black crystal, he becomes stupefied even though Akira has successfully gotten the curse removed. Saren suspects a certain person, however, needs more time to examine the crystal. He promises to provide Akira with the results the next day. Akira is already exhausted due to the hectic day and wants to hit the bed. However, he doesn't think it best to sleep in his previous room in the castle, so he decides to find a hidden place to rest. Soon Akira calls it a day, and the next morning Akira finds himself waking up quite late. It appears he had chosen a camouflage tree in the castle grounds to rest upon. What a splendid level of comfort. Suddenly he hears Tsukasa calling out to him wildly. Akira notices that the curse impelled upon him has been nullified. However, Tsukasa hysterically informs him that something has happened to Commander Saren. On hearing this, Akira plops down the tree and immediately follows Tsukasa. They reach a point where a large mob of students has been gathered, all stunned in shock. Akira penetrates through the crowd only to find the scene that he never wanted to witness. In front of him, Commander Saren lay lifeless, brutally stabbed on his chest. Everyone surrounding them, Zeal, Tsukasa, the king, and Princess Maria, have distraught looks on their faces. Someone points out to a grief-stricken Akira that he must stop putting up with that act. In no time, everyone starts blaming Akira because the dagger that stabbed Saren's chest once belonged to Akira. Akira could hear everyone declaring him a murderer. Akira is astounded because all the heroes saw with their own two eyes the moment his dagger broke into pieces when it hit the Minotaur back in the dungeon. He suddenly begins to get treacherous vibes from all of them, including the king. But then he sees Maria standing beside the king, giving him a wicked smile. It is then Akira realizes that he has fallen into their trap. It seems that each of the heroes is under the princess's curse, and it would be very hard for him alone to clear this misunderstanding. Still, he feels a pang of gloom when he looks at Saren and pulls out the dagger from his chest. Akira expresses his desire to the king that he would be out of their way, but the king doesn't want a murderer like him to roam around freely, and instantly Akira is surrounded by royal guards. Princess Maria advises him sarcastically that he must accept his punishment obediently, as the heinous criminal who assassinated the kingdom's last line of defense. Maria is trying to frame him because Akira knows too much, just like Saren did. The king orders his guards to seize Akira, much to Tsukasa's shock, who screams in agony. However, Zeal grabs him and tries to console him. Akira is not intimidated at all and uses his stealth skills to vanish in thin air. The enraged king orders a rigorous manhunt. However, Zeal can still sense him nearby and warns him against the king's special assassin unit Night Crows that murdered Saren and are now targeting Akira. Zeal informs him that Commander Saren left the thing Akira asked for and a letter for him in his room. Akira bids farewell to Commander Zeal and reaches Saren's room. The thing he asked Saren to procure was the essential supply to survive on his journey after he left the castle, because he planned to leave the castle in a few days with Commander Saren's help. With that, he remembers Saren's kind face and his assuring smile. A wave of wrath overcomes him and he vows that he will definitely avenge Commander Saren's untimely death one day. However, currently, Akira doesn't have enough powers to do that. For that he has to be patient and wait a little longer. A hideous goblin can be seen dragging a dead rat, and before it can devour its prey, Akira sneaks from behind, grabs its mouth, and slays it. Akira has finally reached the 5th floor of the dungeon that they previously raided. He remembers the last time they delved past the 30th floor rather easily. However, currently he's facing the mission all alone. He tries to make the best use of his skills of stealth, perception, and threat detection. Now Akira would have been severely wounded if the goblins attacked him in a group. He recalls Saren's letter guiding him to take refuge in the dungeon whenever the king is targeting him. Saren had instructed him to the Continen dungeon and aim for the 100th floor. Soon he begins to carve the goblin's body and obtains a magic stone, a rare material inside a monster's body that has mana inside it. The magic stone is very useful for Akira to suppress his mana consumption, so he wants to get as many stones as possible. One more issue Akira is facing is that he has limited supplies to survive on. The supplies he got from Saren only included 30 days worth of portable rations, several sundries, a hunting dagger, assassination tools, etc. For this reason, Akira intends to reach the 30th floor as soon as possible, as there is a risk of running into other adventurers who are exploring this dungeon if he stays on the upper floors for long. Unexpectedly, his threat detection skill begins to react violently. He guesses that someone, in fact, a really strong monster is heading his way, but then his perception skill doesn't detect anybody or anything near him. He doesn't doubt his perception skills because it can detect any living being within 50 meters of a radius around him. Still, Akira has doubts that it could be a person who has the skill to bypass his perception skill. Akira's mind is quite puzzled because the upcoming danger could be a hidden one or a trap that doesn't have any presence. Akira has an idea, and he flings the recently acquired magic stone on the ground. As soon as the stone hits the ground, 3 arrows dash towards that point and stick on the ground. It dawns on Akira that the hidden danger is actually a mana-reacting trap. Akira becomes more vigilant because even though he had traversed through that path earlier, he cannot let his guard down, because now all he can rely on is his own body and techniques. Meanwhile, a distressed Tsukasa visits the last abode of Saren and kneels in front of his grave gloomily. Earlier, Commander Zeal revealed everything to him about how he was cursed, and that curse was lifted due to Saren and Akira's efforts. Lately, everything has changed after Saren's demise. All of Tsukasa's classmates have become estranged and they break into small fights over trivial things, and for this reason, the atmosphere has become very tense. The classmates have started to group themselves with their close friends while despising those who are outside their faction. However, Tsukasa has become greatly disturbed due to the sudden tragedy and has become a misfit. He really misses Akira, who vanished 10 days ago. His thoughts are suddenly interrupted by a strange rustle of the leaves as if someone is sneaking at him from behind the bushes. Tsukasa jumps abruptly and draws out his sword. Suddenly, an anguished girl comes out from the bushes, and Tsukasa immediately recognizes her as Yuki Ueno, an exorcist who had previously helped Akira dispel Tsukasa's curse. Tsukasa pays his gratitude to her and apologizes for pointing his sword at her. Yuki is also worried about their classmates getting cursed. However, she didn't get cursed herself. As being an exorcist, her curse resistance is higher than anyone else in the class. She doesn't blame Tsukasa for not trusting her, knowing the abominable strength of that curse. She is even not sure whether Tsukasa's curse has been lifted properly. For this reason, she requests Tsukasa to visit the graveyard the next day as well, as she wants to prove to him that the curse does not affect her, to build up his trust in her. Yuki is tired of being all alone and doubting her own classmates. For this reason, she wants Tsukasa to be her companion. Even Tsukasa has learned the harshness of loneliness after he fell into the predicament. He promises Yuki that he will come the next day, but for his security purposes, he will bring his sword along. Also, he wants Yuki to keep a certain distance from him. Yuki makes a joke that she is not stupid enough to approach an armed man so carelessly, and laughs. Her laugh seems funnier than the joke though, but still, Tsukasa feels better after a long time. Tsukasa steps forward and secretly prays to Saren to watch over him while he aims to change the world as a hero. He places a flower on Saren's grave to pay his respects. According to Yuki, Tsukasa has chosen a suitable flower hollyhock for the place as it means heart to believe in the flower language. Deep in his heart, Tsukasa vows to join Akira wherever he is. In the darkness prevailing palace, the treacherous king and his ominous daughter Maria are celebrating Saren's death, and are glad to get rid of that annoyance so easily. The princess is so delighted that she is willing to reward the Night Crows for their achievement. They are satisfied as all the heroes have been cursed except Tsukasa, and now they just have to create a reason to go to war against the East Kingdom. The king suddenly remembers Akira and wishes that he could die a dog's death at some random place. Still, he plans to track him through his faithful Night Crows. Meanwhile, in the dungeon, a bonfire is crackling while some meat is being roasted on stakes. That meat is Akira's 30th meal since he went inside the dungeon. He calculates that almost 10 days have passed since he entered the dungeon as predicted by his internal clock, since he has been underground all these days. To save his rations, Akira has been roasting monsters' meat for survival, though until now he hasn't put his hands on any humanoid monsters like goblins. However, if his rations are completely wiped out then he won't have many choices. Still, he enjoys devouring monster meat. Akira is quite vulnerable when he is eating his meals or taking a rest, but he makes sure that he has activated stealth and threat detection skills altogether to avoid any unexpected attacks. Akira is also tempted to level up his other skills as well because using a skill for a long time will certainly elevate its level. However, considering that using skills is draining his mana and stamina, and that his recovery completely depends on those two, he is in real trouble. He bites off the monster's flesh and decides to eat as much as he can so that his body remains in its top form. Because after all, the upcoming room would be the boss's room. In the dungeon, there is this giant door on every 10th floor, and the one here in front of him is the door to the boss room on the 60th floor. Previously, Akira has defeated a goblin general on the 10th floor, an orc on the 20th floor, red wolf on the 30th floor, goblin king on the 40th floor, and Fenrir on the 50th floor. Akira was all alone, but even so, he still had to fight them, even though he knew fully well that he was at a big disadvantage. Especially in the fight against the 50th floor boss, Fenrir, it was truly a hellish fight, because he had to fight him and 4 30th floor bosses, red wolves that accompanied it. Akira used his stealth ability to make an opportunity, and dealt heavy damage to each one of them from behind before finally being able to overpower them. Still, Akira needs to fight without using his skills and quickly defeat his opponents by using swordsmanship. So from the 51st to the 59th floor, he didn't use his stealth or threat detection skills on purpose so that he could get familiar with his curved blade skill. Akira has his blues as well when he wonders if he can keep going that way. But then he regains his composure and keeps going forward. Cautiously he enters the boss's room. And as usual, its door closes after Akira has stepped forward, and it can't be opened again until he beats the boss. So in short, either he dies or the boss dies in the cutthroat battle. Akira meets his opponent, who is the most ferocious one until now, with the head and the upper body of a lion, the lower body of a goat, and a venomous snake for the tail. Akira compares its appearance with those of Greek mythological characters called chimera. Seriously, that thing should be in the city circus. Akira is all pepped up because the upcoming fight will be one-on-one. Chimera activates its intimidate and roar skills, and leads out a deafening wild roar, with which it takes a huge leap and pounces over Akira. However, Akira successfully dodges himself and uses expert sword moves to ward off the humongous monster. While fighting the lion head, Akira almost forgot about the swaying snake that swung towards him, displaying its venomous fangs ominously. Akira manages to use his magic to destroy the venom tossed maliciously towards him. Akira notices that the mythical creature doesn't have any blind spots, not even on its back, which is worse than a 2-on-1 battle. Suddenly, the furious lion charges towards him, but Akira slides away smoothly. However, unfortunately, Akira misses a move and is almost crushed by a giant lion's front paw. To a hapless Akira, it seems as if a heavy bulldozer has been swiped over him, as he could feel some broken ribs. Akira lies wounded and worn out when the triumphant chimera sneers and trots towards him. But this time Akira tries to fight him with all he has. Immediately he blasts upon the hideous creature his blaring and overpowering shadow magic, but suddenly the area around him begins to fade, and suddenly he begins to feel dizzy and loses consciousness. Akira goes into a flashback where he sees Saren commenting on his shadow magic having a thought of its own. Akira's shadow magic has a risk of running wild and the mana consumption is too extreme. Saren feared that although Akira's shadow magic was very powerful, it had fatal flaws, and he must never let his guard down. Slowly and gradually Akira begins to gain consciousness, and a stench of very sweet blood hits his nostrils. The chimera lay lifeless in a pool of dark gore. However, Akira has completely lost it by fighting a boss without using any of his skills. Akira's system reports that his injury level has actually exceeded the acceptable level, and now his shadow magic will be forcefully activated with a recovery mode. However, the system encounters an error because Akira's mana is not enough for complete restoration. The system then tries to compensate the needed amount with the mana preserved inside shadow magic. In his unconsciousness, Akira is transported to another memory where he is having a conversation with Saren when they met for the first time, who is updating him on valuable information about that world. At the beginning, the god of creation Aether created the sky, next he created the land. After that, keeping his own body as a model, Aether created people like humans, elves, demon folks, and beastmen. The god of creation Aether then granted them land to live, work to do, and status to protect themselves, hoping that raising the people will help him to soothe his heart, which has already hardened because of the conflicts between the gods. To his anguish, he found out that people are not very different from gods, wanting more lands, things, women, or men. They waged wars all across the land. Thus, Aether, who was angered by people's behavior, created monsters and proceeded to divide the land into 4 continents. The demon folk who are able to control the monsters are hated by the other 3 races and driven away to the volcanic continent, Volcano, while elves chose to live in the continent where the sacred tree soars up to the sky, the forest. The remaining 2 humans and the beastmen kept fighting until the very end, and humans who won the fight picked the biggest and richest continent among the 4 called Continen, and the beastmen got the beast continent, Brute. That's how the 4 races got their own continents. However, even after the wars ended, the demo folks still haven't ceased their attacks against the 3 races and are considered common enemies of the 3 races. With this, Akira slowly and gradually begins to regain consciousness and sits upright. He is astonished to find out that all of his wounds have been healed. When his stomach begins to growl like a wolf, Akira decides to look for something to eat. Next, he carves out Chimera's meat and finds out that it doesn't seem to be rotten, and also he doesn't see any bugs or maggots. However, before eating he decides to roast it first. Here in Morrigan, people who can't cast magic spells still know how to use simple magic, just like lighting a small fire or creating a bit of water. Akira also scorches some meat pieces with a magic stone and chomps it down hungrily. Gosh, the guy almost ate the whole chimera. Guess who's the monster here? Still, he wonders how he came back from death's door and how his injuries got healed, because he is in a lower floor locked boss room. The chance of any passerby healing him is next to 0. Also, he doesn't remember him having any revival skills. Suddenly he spots a new skill, Good Luck, on his status bar, and there is a possibility that skill did the trick. Akira really wishes he could have laid his hands on that Good Luck skill before. Perhaps that way he might have been able to realize the plan to assassinate Commander Saren and prevent it from happening. Suddenly his threat detection skill begins to signal wildly, and Akira looks above. Something is coming towards him very rapidly, and Akira in the nick of time slides to safety. The thing that fell down on the ground is a glob of slime. Now his perception skill is also ringing violently that there is a human presence somewhere nearby. Firstly, Akira resolves to take care of that slime. The slime opens its cave-like mouth and Akira thinks furiously that it really needs some breath mints. Akira swings his katana repeatedly and overpowers the slime easily. Something eerie happens. Akira spots a hand coming out of the rapidly receding slime body, and in no time the slime disappears completely to reveal a beautiful young woman in an unconscious state. A startled Akira covers her up with his cloak and decides to wait for her, as he cannot leave a young maiden in distress all alone in the underground part of the dungeon. Akira observes the young girl and notices that she has long pointy ears and quite a pretty face. He deduces that she definitely belonged to the elves race. Elves love nature and the sacred tree very much, and loathe humans who are adamant about cutting trees so ruthlessly. Akira is surprised by the presence of the elf girl because he has heard that it's very rare for the elves to leave their continent, the forest. Akira has no choice but to wait for her to wake up in order to find his answers. Akira ponders that after he came to this world his days were constantly filled with over-the-top incidents, learning, and training, so it's been a long time since he has done nothing and waited for something. Chill dude, everyone needs a break. The poor guy is going bonkers with boredom though. While waiting, he resolves to open his status bar to check out the Eye of the World skill. However, once he activates it, his head begins to spin bizarrely and it seems as if everyone's levels start to flash in front of him. He even finds out that the dungeon wall of level 60 is hard and indestructible. Akira is forced to cancel the skill as he gets a splitting headache. He realizes after a pause that there are certain skills that he cannot use constantly, like Shadow Magic and Eye of the World. Akira clicks on the Eye of the World skill to find out what it does. The skill makes the user see the entire truth of the world. It's also possible to adjust the area of sight. Suddenly, the young lady begins to fidget uncomfortably, then opens her eyes and wonders about her whereabouts. Meanwhile, an intruder barges inside Princess Marie's room and withdraws the curtains, revealing the black pointed dark magic crystals. He draws his sword out and slashes those crystals into halves in an instant. The strange intruder is introduced as Asahina Kyosuke, who is a samurai by occupation. Meanwhile, in the underground dungeon, Akira asks the young lady about her well-being, and unexpectedly her stomach begins to growl. Pretty or not, she is a human of course. But still, the young lady is embarrassed to the core, while Akira looks here and there slightly abashed. Akira presents her with some food, and the young lady snatches it as if she hasn't seen any for months. Guess everyone becomes a beast for a while in the dungeon. Shockingly, she grabs the food and hides behind a pillar like an abandoned feline. A considerate Akira offers her some more, which she accepts graciously. Akira wonders what a pretty girl like her was doing inside a slime. However, the perturbed girl chooses not to answer. Akira finds out that since the girl woke up when he activated his Eye of the World skill, he can actually peer into her status panel. He finds out that the young lady is not an ordinary elf, but a high elf belonging to some royalty. She also possesses an unmeasured stat and also the Eye of the World skill, just like Akira. This is quite peculiar because the extra skills are supposed to be rare. He finds the elf girl gazing at him strangely, and Akira guesses that even she can penetrate his status bar. The elf girl wonders why Akira is in a place like this, and the latter discloses that he is here to increase his levels. Akira delves further into her status bar and finds out that the elf girl's name is Amelia, and bizarrely she has red eyes and white hair against normal elves who have blonde hair and blue eyes. Amelia doesn't have any plans to go back to the elven continent, and instead wants to stay with Akira. She plans to go back when the time is right, but first, she has to beat the dungeon. She makes a strange prediction that Akira doesn't have any place in the human castle, as she can have the same eyes just like Akira. She reasons that Akira has a low level of Eyes of the World because he rejected it in the first place. Soon they both call it a day, and as Amelia lies down to sleep, Akira makes sure to toss a piece of cloth to her and decides to widen the diameter of his threat detection just in case. Amelia recalls Maria's cold words as she sneered at him earlier about her being alive. She remembers that even she doesn't have any place to return to. She suddenly feels a warm wind and wonders whether that is Akira's lifestyle magic. She admits that although Akira speaks roughly and the look in his eyes is kind of scary, Akira might be the kindest person she has ever met. Back when Amelia was still in the elven village, there wasn't anyone who cared about her that much. Even her own little sister rejected her. Through the eyes, she has found out that Akira is not a native of this world, and she is really curious about the world he has come from. Meanwhile, at the castle, Tsukasa gathers all his classmates to announce that he will be going on a journey to defeat the demon lord right away, to his classmates' astonishment. They all feel as if he has actually lost his mind to go in such a chaotic situation. In fact, all of them gawk and quack whatever they pleased. However, Tsukasa knows that more than the classmates, their curse is screaming at the top of their lungs, as the enemies want to shatter the teamwork completely from the inside. The classmates keep on belittling Tsukasa to his annoyance. Still, he announces that he doesn't want their support, and that he can do that expedition on his own. Tsukasa knows that the king and the princess are doing everything to make him bail in front of them, so he has to get out of this castle even if it is all by himself. Out of the blue, Asahina expresses his desire to accompany him, and so do Yuki, Nanase, Tsuda, and Waki. The group decides to leave as soon as they are done with their preparations. Tsukasa retorts that the king himself asked them to defeat the demon lord in the first place, so even if he objects, they would still be making their trip. After a while, the whole group is out of the castle, and to everyone's relief, Tsukasa still wonders why that group of students is joining him. Yuki points out that everyone who has joined him is not affected by the curse anymore. Their curse has been lifted somehow. Asahina predicts that this might have something to do with what he has done. He narrates that this morning he didn't find himself in his own room, but in a room that he had never seen before. In that room, there were a lot of black pointed crystals, and 6 of them had been destroyed. Now Asahina doesn't have a clear memory, but he thinks that he was the one who destroyed those 6 crystals, and before he knew it, he had a katana with him. Now Asahina knew that if someone found him there it would be bad, so he immediately moved out of that peculiar room. Now the 6 broken crystals mean that 6 curses have been lifted. This is something eerie that Asahina's body moved on its own. Yuki even checks out his katana and finds out that it is not cursed as well. But she has never seen a pure white katana earlier. Still, Tsukasa's mind is puzzled as to why only 6 of his classmates got their curse lifted. The hero and his party move on towards their expedition while Vice Commander Zeal watches them from the roof. The king still doesn't realize that the hero and his friends have left the castle looking at the guards' movement. It is revealed that Tsukasa and his friends have safely been ushered out by Zeal's help to fulfill his mission from the late Commander Saren. Tsukasa and his friends are penetrating through the deep and dark forest as currently. It is Tsukasa's goal to get out of the forest as soon as possible, as it is not wise to stay in the Redis' kingdom territory for long. However, Asahina's instinct is telling him that by sticking close to Tsukasa they would definitely be united with Akira again. He recalls that Akira, Tsukasa, and he were always in one class ever since kindergarten. He had noticed that for some reason Tsukasa had always been hostile towards Akira. Meanwhile, Akira was just way too indifferent about his surroundings. Now, because the two of them had such eccentric personalities, Asahina didn't really get a chance to hang out with either of them. One day Asahina had an encounter with Akira during his part-time job as a safety person, and as usual he didn't even remember his name. Maybe Akira has a chronic memory failing disease leading to him forgetting people so easily. Akira pleaded with Asahina to keep his job a secret from others. Asahina assures him that his secret is safe, however. He mentions that since the school doesn't prohibit part-time working, so Akira won't fall in any trouble. Akira has other issues as he doesn't want anyone to see him struggling, especially his own younger sister. Whether it was coincidence or something else, Akira's younger sister was best friends with Asahina's sister. Since that day, Asahina got closer and closer to Akira little by little, even when they were at school. For this reason, it really breaks his heart when on that fateful day when Akira was wrongfully accused of Saren's death, he couldn't help him. Ever since they have arrived in this world, Asahina hasn't spoken even a single word to Akira. Previously, Akira always tried to stay low in class, and Asahina always respected his choice, so he never spoke to him either. However, now they are separated like this, he should have spoken to him earlier, but it was like he was waiting for Akira to talk to him. Asahina remembers those cutting words that came out of his mouth on that fateful day, that Akira being Saren's murderer is unforgivable. He wonders what kind of expression he made when he was under the control of such a thought. His thoughts are interrupted by Tsukasa, who wants clarity from Asahina's side about why he wants to help him because, unlike Nanase, Waki, and others, they haven't spoken to each other before. Asahina blurts out honestly without the fear of making Tsukasa angry that he is doing all that to meet Akira again. He points out that he is certain that he will meet Akira if he tags around Tsukasa, as both Akira and Tsukasa are similar after all. Poor Tsukasa is all creeped out on hearing such honorable words, but Asahina insists that this might be the reason for Tsukasa's despise towards Akira, because of the similarity they share. Tsukasa angrily shuns the idea. Akira is the type who will carry all the burdens with him, while disappearing without telling anyone, while Tsukasa is trying to protect his classmates by himself and keeps pushing forward in any battle. The endless bickering between Tsukasa and Asahina goes on to their classmates' bewilderment. Meanwhile, in the underground dungeon, Akira and Amelia encounter gigantic and menacing monsters. However, Amelia uses her gravity spell along with Akira's shadow magic to defeat the monster. Earlier, Akira thought Amelia would be a burden to him when she said she wanted to be on his side, but it seems like all his worries were baseless. Soon they find a suitable place to rest and eat. Before they can begin eating the roast meat, Akira says a little prayer, which is something strange for Amelia. Akira explains that it's something like showing one's gratitude towards the food one is about to eat. So when Amelia expresses her desire to know more about Akira's family and friends, he discloses that he only has a mother and little sister for the family. He reveals that his father just disappeared suddenly when Akira was only 10. He just left all of a sudden because he couldn't bear the responsibility of taking care of his ailing mother and 2 children. After that, his mom worked from home while Akira did several part-time jobs. They were somehow able to live normally. That year, his younger sister Yui also insisted on doing part-time jobs, because maybe she was worried Akira was ever home due to his jobs. Amelia is sorry to hear that Akira has been living such a difficult life. Amelia reveals that she even has a little sister who is better than her in all aspects. She is prettier, great at everything, and loved by all. Compared to her, Amelia feels like good for nothing, has lesser skills than her, and all of them are weaker than her little sisters. However, Akira has a different point of view, as he feels that people are more interesting if they have a weakness. Somehow, Amelia's sister reminds him of Tsukasa. The way he hides behind the perfect charade is what Akira doesn't like about him. Now all this talk makes Akira crave some rice. Amelia informs him that there is a country named Yamato where Akira can have rice. That country was built by the hero who came before Akira and has an eatery spot called Hot Springs, where Akira can get his favorite rice dishes. I bet his mouth is drooling like a fountain, but for now, Akira decides to focus on increasing his level. Later, Amelia analyzes that Akira is stronger than most of humanity by looking at his stats. Now Akira has already been aware of that fact since day one when he was summoned, because his stats were even higher than Tsukasa's. Still, he wants his level to rise to 100 because that is the one and only goal Commander Saren left for him. The issue is that if Akira blindly raises his level in a hurry, then his body won't be able to catch up with his stats, since he didn't polish his skills. For this reason, he even tried to clear a floor with only his swordsmanship skills without relying on any other skills, but that came down upon him like a mountain. Amelia decides to help him with this issue and uses the skill sealing and magic creation spells on him to seal all his 3 skills, leaving him stunned and baffled for a second. He hears a sudden screeching sound, and Amelia points out to him at something coming towards him from behind. A venomous monster bat is about to charge at him when he immediately uses his katana to swish at it, but the bat is too agile for his likes. Poor Akira, in a frenzy, is unable to use his threat detection, perception, and stealth skills because Amelia has sealed them. Amelia assures him that she will help him when he is in danger. The bat viciously keeps on attacking him. However, he misses his chance to strike it all the time, even though he has already fought that monster before. The white bat's special trait is that it is able to dilute its opponent's 5 senses, making it hard for them to recognize its original position. So previously that was not a problem for him when he was using his stealth and perception skills. But Akira never imagined that it would be this strenuous to fight without any skills. Amelia advises him not to rely only on his 5 senses, and she reminds him that she only sealed his skills and not his mana, so he must try to sense the mana flowing inside him. If he can sense and control the mana inside his body, then he would be able to raise his physical abilities as well. Whenever Akira deliberately tries to control the mana, he feels a similar sensation to what he used to do unconsciously before. Like every time he used his stealth skill, his body automatically turned his mana around him and covered every inch of his body. The question arises, what if he doesn't use his mana to blend in with his surroundings? The bat tries to attack Akira again by diving towards him. However, this time it slides through Akira's body as if Akira's body has become transparent. The bat puts its guard down in astonishment, while Akira swings the katana, swiftly beheading it. Akira took Amelia's words as a hint and tried to put a little twist on controlling his mana. Amelia is shocked to see the illusion Akira was successfully able to create of himself fading away in a haze. Amelia is awestruck because the clump of mana has become completely independent from Akira's body. Now, if that would have been easier for an enchanter having a special kind of magic capabilities, but Akira even succeeded at making his mana completely independent from himself. Forget about remotely controlling magic. The whole thing is impossible for any other normal humans to replicate. Amelia throws a bombshell on Akira that the only one who could do the exact same thing was the first hero. Akira and Amelia come down a large staircase and come across an enormous, magnificent gate on the underground dungeon's 80th floor. They enter the boss's room and notice that it's way bigger than the previous boss's rooms. They look around for the boss, who is strangely nowhere to be seen. Suddenly a piece of rubble drops on the ground and Akira spots 2 menacing eyes peering from a dark demeanor above them. They are startled to find a gigantic jade black dragon with 2 glaring eyes heading towards them. The dragon precariously begins to swish above them, trying in every possible way to strike them. However, Akira makes a heroic stoop to protect Amelia. They both stare at the flying menace helplessly, as they cannot do anything as long as it is soaring above. It is then Akira has an idea. If Amelia can pull down that freaking dragon through her gravity magic. Amelia agrees to try and warns Akira not to get crushed if that roguish reptile falls to the ground. She uses her magic to grip the dragon and tries to pull it downward like one out of control gigantic kite. As Amelia continues tugging the dragon towards the ground, It lets out a deafening roar. After she has managed to pull it down to a reachable height, she signals Akira to make an attack. Akira takes a high leap and slashes the dragon with his katana. He pushes the katana blade through the back of the dragon's throat. The dragon swings wildly out of pain and strikes Akira with his massive claw. Akira literally seems like a tiny mosquito in front of the terrible reptile. No one has told Akira that a dragon could still be alive after being stabbed in its throat, and he pretty much put everything in that attack. Still, he manages to do considerable damage to the dragon, so it is safe enough for Emilia to pull off her gravity magic, as the wounded dragon won't be able to soar to heights again. Emilia gazes at the dragon closely and has a weird feeling about it. She ponders that although Akira's stats are exceptionally high, and she doesn't doubt the sharpness of Akira's blade as well, if the dragon can be pierced easily by an attack of that level, then it would be considered very weak. Akira thinks that compared to Chimera, whom he faced in the previous boss room, there is something that feels off with the dragon. Even after he peaked at its status with Eye of the World, its stats felt lower than those of the dragons, having exceptionally higher stats. To their horror, the dragon has somehow resurrected itself and is all set to charge towards them. Akira is very much worried about Emilia getting attacked, so he instructs her to back off. The dragon emits rapid fire, but Akira keeps dodging it and closing the distance. He also feels something is wrong with the dragon, just like Emilia pointed out, but if the katana is effective, then there is no reason to hesitate. With that resolution, Akira jumps on the enormous dragon's head and with full force stabs the katana into it. Simultaneously, he activates shadow magic, and the dragon roars in agony. After much tussle, a victorious Akira manages to take down the ominous creature. But his joy is short-lived because transparent bubbles begin to appear around the dragon, slowly and gradually changing its form from a dragon to a gigantic black cat. A stupendous Akira cannot believe his own eyes because even the stats of the creature are changed. The cat throws an insult at Akira that it could not be defeated by a human with a stupid-looking face. The black feline played around a bit too much because this was the first time a human had come to this floor. Akira is about to have a heart attack because a transforming dragon is still digestible but a talking cat. Still, Akira is quite offended by being called stupid-looking by a cat, so they both get into a silly argument. The cat has been entrusted with a message for Akira from the demon lord who resides in the continent called Volcano, that he would be waiting for Akira in the innermost part of the demon castle. Meanwhile, Tsukasa and his team tirelessly hike through the forest, and after they reach a clearing, Wacky points out delightfully at the country of Yamato situated at a short distance.